Hello, here we are with Lindsay Clanfield after the opening plenary at the TESOL Macedonia-Thrace conference. So, Lindsay, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you some questions.
Sure.
You've been to many conferences, you've organized conferences, and you've been a keynote speaker at many conferences. What direction do you think conferences should take so that they're relevant to teachers' changing needs?
I think one of the this question has come up quite a few times about how conferences are changing, how they should be changing, what should be happening, and I think that one of the things that is good about conferences now is the possibility that they can reach beyond the walls of the conference center. By this I mean that participants at the conference are communicating what they see and hear via online channels while the conference is taking place. So the most common one is Twitter, that people that I would say a direction that a conference should take is that there should be Wi-Fi in the conference so that people can share impressions and experiences from the conference in real time as it happens. Also, I think what's quite encouraging about conferences is that lots of the information about the conference and follow-up tends to be online as well. So even if you weren't at the conference, you can find out a lot about it. One of the leaders in this whole area has been IATEFL, the big IATEFL conference, IATEFL Online. Now that's a big operation they do. But even in smaller conferences, just having a dynamic web page, having a follow-up kind of thing like what we're doing, videos of the speakers, having updates of what's happening at the conference, perhaps a blog or a sort of updated page of what the conference came up with. So basically kind of integrating some of these new technologies into the conference itself, so it becomes a wider experience than just those people there. There are also online conferences, but I would suggest that those should exist as well as the face-to-face conferences. Some people have asked me, do you think in the future we could just have online conferences? And I think that would be a big shame, because a lot of the social chatting and everything that goes on is very important as well. It is one of the most important things for the participants at a conference. So I think the direction that we should go is to keep the conferences as we're doing now, have a variety of social events at the conference, but also have and encourage participants to share their experiences either in real time or afterwards through writing blog posts, commenting on the conference page, sending photos of their experience. I think that would be the way to go.
Now, what changes, or are there any changes in ELT that you think are long overdue?
There's a few. I mean, I could talk about this for a long time. My views already on how, for example, the content of the lessons that we're teaching as an international language, how I think that was long overdue. For example, over the past 10 years, there has been a shift as English became an international language to sort of have a lighter, cosmopolitan kind of fluffy English, which often depended on celebrities or reading about successful people and so on. And I've been interested in kind of putting a more critical and educational aim back into language teaching, and also for students to learn about English, or why English is the international language and so on. So that's one. But one that I'm thinking recently, which is quickly becoming overdue, or perhaps I should say due, is the whole idea of listening. As most teachers will say, their students hate listening. They hate listening to the CDs. And we've progressed from listening to cassettes, to listening to CDs, to listening to MP3 files. But we haven't moved on from still listening to two voices, having a conversation without being able to see the people. And before, that wasn't possible because we didn't have the technology to show video in class that easily, and it was very expensive to make. But now, surely, we're at a stage where lots of classes have a projector in the class. The teacher can use and does use things like YouTube, does use video support and so on. And yet we are still doing a lot of listening comprehension for exams and for in class, where they are listening to a CD where they can't see the people. It takes a while for them to just figure out how many people are speaking and so on. I think now what is overdue in materials and exams is to switch listening to watch and listen. So make our listenings visual as well, so that the students can see a conversation like you and I are having here, and then work on comprehension from that, then from just the blind eavesdropping to a conversation, which very rarely happens in real life.
Yeah, it would be more realistic. Yeah. But I was thinking, how could listening be a little bit more interactive?
Well,
because again, it's a little bit unrealistic to just listen.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there are two ways. Some people have talked about incorporating more live listenings, which usually means listening to the teacher tell a story and so on, or having the teacher bring in other people that you could ask questions. You can't always do that. One way, if we made things as watch and listen, so videos, you could incorporate a sort of thing where, let's imagine that the video is of a crowded train station, and the students watching as if they're there, and then somebody comes up to the camera and says something quickly in English. The teacher then pauses, and the students have to choose from an array of correct responses, or what is this person asking you? Or you are set up with a situation that you have to go and do this and ask this to this person, then you get the video of the person answering, and you have to say, okay, did that answer my question, or what would I ask? It'd be a bit more complex, but the tools we have now for that and the technology we have means that it is more possible. Not as interactive as the real thing, but a little bit more using video and listening than just listen. So listening to a bit, choosing the right answer. You could get really elaborate where you would click on one thing, you would get a different part of video depending on what you clicked on. I mean, the sky's the limit then on what you could do. Still.
Technology now.
Yeah.
Right. And on a more personal note, could you tell us the worst piece of advice that you've ever been given?
I think the worst piece of advice, I was thinking about this before. What is the worst piece of advice I've been given? And I think I can't remember something specific, but it was along the lines of in teaching or in making material that teachers are using, the idea of trying to reach every individual. This happens a lot with teachers, the idea of reaching out to every individual. And the whole discourse of learning styles and everything kind of plays into this, because you're sort of encouraged to think everybody has a unique style, and so I, as the teacher, have to try to access all of those people's individual styles and meet each of their individual needs. And as a materials writer, it's the same kind of thing. And I just don't think that's possible, and it creates situations where you feel really guilty as a teacher, or you feel bad for what you're doing if you can't meet every individual person in a class of 30 their individual needs. And maybe you don't need to.
Yeah, which doesn't mean that you've failed, does it?
No.
And the best piece of advice?
The best piece of advice, I think, was from a workshop I attended by Penny where she said she changed a quote. I think it's from Lincoln. She said, "You can teach some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can't teach all of the people all of the time." And I think that was a very good bit of advice. It doesn't mean we can't try, but we mustn't beat ourselves up. There are some people that won't get it, and it's not just your fault. Everyone has a partner in this situation.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
All right, Lindsay Clanfield, thank you very much
for
being with us.
And thank you very much, Sita.